Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading. I am reading Deuteronomy 30 and 31 from the World English Bible for today's section. And you know how I've been analyzing this version, this new world, um, the World English Bible, and I really like it. It was very, very awkward for me to read at first, and now I've gotten used to it. But also some sections are more more fluent than others for reading out loud. But it has these situations where it has these long run-on sentences. One that I'm going to give you example of in a minute, or actually two that I'm going to show you in a minute. Now, I know this isn't interesting to everyone, but it is fascinating to me. I tutor for scholarly writing, and in today's scholarly writing, this wouldn't be acceptable. And I assume I don't know much about translations, but this is translated fairly directly. It's a literal translation, and so I assume that's why they do this. And for instance, in situations where I would expect a period and a new sentence, it just puts a semicolon. So, I guess it's joining independent clauses together. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you wonder why I'm sometimes reading it, like I'll pause on the commas because the sentences are so long. I want to be able to comprehend it while I'm reading it. And, and in those cases, it's usually little phrases that it puts between commas, modifiers and such. So I'll tell you, this first one in chapter 30, it covers three full verses. It ends at 4. So I'll tell you when I get to verse 4, and then it does it again further down. But this is the second to last reading for this book. So after tomorrow, we'll be done and be into the next book of Joshua. So let's get started. Deuteronomy 30, verse 1. It shall happen, when all these things have come on you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations where Yahweh your God has driven you, and return to Yahweh your God, and obey his voice according to all that I have commanded you today, you and your children, excuse me, with all your heart and with all your soul, then Yahweh your God will release you from captivity, have compassion on you, and will return and gather you from all the peoples where Yahweh your God has scattered you. Verse 4. If your outcasts are in the uttermost parts of the heavens, from there Yahweh your God will gather you, and from there he will bring you back. Yahweh your God will bring you into the land which your fathers possessed, and you will possess it. He will do you good, and increase your numbers more than your fathers. Yahweh your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your offspring, to love Yahweh your God with all your heart, excuse me, and with all your soul, that you may live. Yahweh your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecute you. You shall return and obey Yahweh's voice and do all his commandments which I command you today. Yahweh your God will make you plenteous in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, in the fruit of your livestock, in the fruit of your ground, for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers, if you will obey Yahweh your God's voice to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, if you turn to Yahweh your God with all your heart and with all your soul. For this commandment which I command you today is not too hard for you or too distant. It's not in heaven, that you should say, who will go up for us to heaven and bring it to us and proclaim it to us that we may do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us and proclaim it to us that we may do it. Now the thought just occurred to me that that's what the pagans were doing probably. Um, who will go up to heaven for us? Isn't that what the Tower of Babel was all about? And then who will go over the sea? Um, I'm not sure. I know they had oversea travel. Um, anyway, that's enough of that. But it's interesting that he's saying that you don't have to go to the heaven, you don't have to go over the sea. It says, but the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. So the key to God is doing his commandments, to having it in our heart and our mind and doing it. That is the verse that correlates with Romans that talks about um, the word being near us in our heart and in our mind. I mean, in our mouth. Verse 15, behold, I have set before you today life and prosperity, and death and evil. For I command you today to love Yahweh your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes and his ordinances, that you may live and multiply, and that Yahweh your God may bless you in the land where you go in to possess it. You might be able to hear the helicopter. I've got my door open next to my desk. Such a beautiful day here today. Verse 17. But if your heart turns away, and you will not hear, but are drawn away, and worship other gods, and serve them, I denounce you today that you will surely perish. You will not prolong your days in the land where you pass over the Jordan to go in to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore choose life, that you may live, you and your descendants, to love Yahweh your God, to obey his voice, and to cling to him. For he is your life and the length of your days, that you may dwell in the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. Excuse my scratchy voice. Maybe that's why it's scratchy, because I have the door open. Maybe some kind of pollen or something in the air. But it is so beautiful. Blue skies, white wispy clouds, everything's starting to green up. The birds are chirping away. Just gorgeous. Chapter 31, verse 1. Moses went and spoke these words to all Israel. He said to them, I am 120 years old today. I can no more go out and come in. Yahweh has said to me, you shall not go over this Jordan. Yahweh your God himself will go over before you. He will destroy these nations from before you, and you shall dispossess them. Joshua will go over before you, as Yahweh has spoken. Yahweh will do to them as he did to Sihon and to Og, the kings of the Amorites, and to their land, whom he destroyed. Yahweh will deliver them up before you, and you shall do to them according to all the commandment which I have commanded you. Now let me stop and talk about this. Seems like the last few days I didn't have a whole lot of thoughts to share. And feel free to tell me in the comments your thoughts about what we're reading. These two chapters are beautiful in Deuteronomy. I love it. The part about I call heaven and earth to witness against you today. I set before you life and death. Choose life. I love that from chapter 30. But here with Moses, the thought that just occurred to me, Moses sacrificed going into the land way back 40 years ago when he sent the spies in, and Joshua and Caleb were the only two of the 10 that had a good report. And God said, I'll just destroy everybody and you guys can go in. And Moses interceded and said, no. So God said, okay, they're going to wander in the wilderness, and only the children of the ones alive today are going to be allowed to go in. So here we are back to that part where the descendants are about to go in. And during that 40 years, that one instance, I won't go into all the stories, but that one instance where Moses disobeyed God, somewhere it says because of that, he wasn't going to be allowed to go into the promised land. So, he put himself at risk when he said he interceded, because he could have gone in a long time ago. And so I always kind of saw that as sad for Moses. And, because Moses ended up tripping up and losing his privilege to go across the Jordan into Canaan. And, I kind of saw it as a negative thing. And then just now it occurred to me that, gosh, Moses was 120. He was probably too feeble to go in and enjoy it. He already crossed the Red Sea and did all that. It's not going to be that much different. You've seen his battles. They're going to go in there and they're going to have to defeat these giants. He's probably relieved. He's probably so satisfied at this point that he's ready to go home. And you can kind of hear that in his voice here when he's reassuring them, Yahweh will be with you. He's going to do what he said. And Moses knows this from personal experience. He can encourage their faith because he's seen God move all through these years. That he's been faithful. The Lord God of the universe was faithful when he told him to go into Egypt and release the Israelites when it looked impossible. He's been faithful all through these years. And, Moses can look back on his life, how God allowed him to be saved as a baby out of the waters into Pharaoh's household, setting him up for the future when he would come back and be the deliverer. All the years in the wilderness, all the trials with the stubborn and rebellious people of Israel and getting them trained and formed into an army. It's really quite amazing. And Moses can look back on all those memories and know of a surety now. It's like a Christian who's walked with the Lord for decades, which I actually have now. And there's just confidence that comes, this solid faith that, he's proven himself. And let me just say a little more about that. There's a verse in the New Testament that says, tribulation works experience, experience patience, and patience hope. And that really applies to this situation because when we go through tribulations with the Lord, following his ways, clinging to him, listening for his voice, all those things, all the disciplines, sacrifice, dying to self. When we do that, it produces experience. Tribulation produces experience, which, like Moses, like me, like others, you get to see how God moves and walks you through trials and problems. I've been through some things. I was amazed how God was right there with me, whether it was the death of a loved one, just a whole list. I won't go into all that, but um, he's there. And knowing that he will be there, he's proven himself. That's what I see with Moses here. And because of that, what does it say? Tribulation works experience, patience. When you go through trials after that, there's this peace and patience and steadfastness that comes as you walk through it, leaning on him. It's just a confidence that comes in you, a strength. And then, and a hope. That was the fourth thing. Tribulation, experience, patience, and hope. There's this living hope, this anchor that holds you through those trials when you built your life on that rock of Jesus Christ and trusted him. It's really amazing. So that was kind of a long little semi message there, but that's what I see. That whole could almost write a book out of that one thought that flashed through my head reading about Moses here when he said, I'm 120 years old today. I can no more go out and come in. So he's ready. He's accepted it. It's different than what I pictured. I kind of saw it as unfair, like I said, but Moses, he's okay with it. He's like, I've already done this. I went over my Red Sea. You guys go over your Jordan. I've been there, done that. Like a lot of aged people, the young people are so excited to go do things, and the old people are like, been there, you know, been around that block already. I'm gonna enjoy sitting here in my chair. All right, let's get back on this. Again, feel free to share your thoughts about that or anything. All right, so it says, let's go back to Moses here. I'll just start back where I was. He said to them, I'm 120 years old today. I can no more go out and come in. Yahweh has said to me, you shall not go over this Jordan. Yahweh, your God himself, will go over before you. He will destroy all these nations before you, and you shall possess them. Joshua will go over before you, as Yahweh has spoken. Yahweh will do to them as he did to Sihon and to Og. Those were both giants, remember? So he's going, look, he did it for them, and he'll do it again. He's encouraging them. The kings of the Amorites into their land, whom he destroyed. Yahweh will deliver them up before you, and you shall do to them according to all the commandment which I have commanded you. Be strong and courageous, don't be afraid or scared of them, for Yahweh your God himself is who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Moses called to Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and courageous, for you shall go with this people into the land which Yahweh has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall cause them to inherit it. So Moses, he saw how they faltered before, and he knows human nature very well by now. And that's why he's making sure to get on top of it. He's saying, look, Joshua, you will go in. You will be successful. God will go with you. He's bolstering him as a father. It's amazing. So he said, he will not fail you nor forsake you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. Moses wrote this law and delivered it to the priests and the sons of Levi who bore the ark of Yahweh's covenant and to all the elders of Israel. See, last time when they went over, they didn't have to carry the ark over and all the tent of the meeting. They're going to have to do that this time. They didn't do that with the Red Sea. Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the set time of the year of release, in the feast of tents or tabernacles, when all Israel has come to appear before Yahweh your God in the place which he will choose, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people and the men and the women and the little ones and the foreigners who are within your gates, that they may hear and that they may learn and fear Yahweh your God and observe to do all the words of the law, that their children who have not known may hear and learn to fear Yahweh your God as long as you live in the land where you go over the Jordan to possess it. Yahweh said to Moses, behold, your days approach that you must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tent of the meeting, that I may commission him. Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of the meeting. Yahweh appeared in the tent of a meeting Yahweh appeared in the tent in a pillar of a cloud, and the pillar of a cloud stood over the tent's door. Yahweh said to Moses, behold, you shall sleep with your fathers. This people will rise up and play the prostitute after the strange gods of the land, where they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant which I have made with them. Wow, what a prophecy. He said, don't worry, they're going to do it again. They've done it before, they're going to do it again. So in other words, Moses is going to go be with the fathers. He's going to die, and the people are going to be stupid again. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them. And they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall come on them, so that they will say in that day, haven't these evils come on us because our God is not among us? I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evil they have done, in that they have turned to other gods. Now therefore write this song for yourselves, and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I have brought them in the land which I swore to their fathers, flowing with milk and honey, and they have eaten and filled themselves and grown fat, then they will turn to other gods and serve them, and despise me and break my covenant. It will happen when many evils and troubles have come on them, that this song will testify before them as a witness, for it will not be forgotten out of the mouths of their descendants, for I know their ways and what they are doing today, before I have brought them into the land which I swore. So Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the children of Israel. He commissioned Joshua the son of Nun and said, be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the children of Israel into the land which I swore to them. I will be with you. When Moses had finished writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished, Moses commanded the Levites who bore the ark of Yahweh's covenant, saying, take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the Yahweh's covenant your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. So it's like a legal document. For I know your rebellion and your stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive with you today, you have been rebellious against Yahweh. How much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will utterly corrupt yourselves and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. And evil will happen to you in the latter days, because you will do that which is evil in Yahweh's sight, to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. Moses spoke in the ears of all the assembly of Israel the words of this song until they were finished. That's it for today's reading. Well, I really like those two chapters. I'm going to finish this video, and then I'm going to listen to it again. And I routinely do that. I encourage you to do that. What does the Bible say? That we should get the word of God in our heart, deep in our heart, write the words on our heart, and that we have it in our heart and in our mouth, right? Okay, until next time, God bless you. Thanks again for joining me.